Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures, where humanity always rises. The medical station was never meant to sound like this. Warning lights flashed across the curved metal walls, painting the room in red and white. Sharp alarm tones echoed again and again, shaking the nerves of every alien inside. Medics ran from one console to another, their thin hands trembling as they read the data floating in the air. On the central medical bed lay a single human. His body was still, his breathing slow, but the scanners screamed danger. The toxin inside him was spreading fast. According to every known medical record, no living being could survive what was now flowing through his veins. The human had been exposed during a joint exploration mission. A small cut, a drop of alien liquid. That was all it took. For most species, this poison caused instant nerve failure and slow, painful death. The alien doctors knew the signs well. They had seen it too many times before. Death usually came within minutes. Yet this human had been here for several minutes already, and he was still alive. Antidote is on the way, one medic shouted, his voice shaking. He was tall and thin, his skin pale blue with stress. He held a small silver case close to his chest as he ran. Inside it was the only known cure, created after decades of failure. It was rare, it was precious, and it was almost too late. The lead doctor stared at the human's scans in disbelief. The toxin level was high, very high. It should have shut down the heart already. Yet the human's heart beat strong and steady. Slow but steady. The doctor swallowed hard. "This makes no sense," he whispered. "No species lasts this long. Not even close." The human opened his eyes. That alone caused several medics to step back in fear. Humans were not supposed to be awake at this stage. Pain from the toxin should have been unbearable. But the human's eyes were calm. Tired, yes, but calm. He slowly turned his head, looking around the room as if he were simply waking from a deep sleep. Is this the medical bay?" the human asked. His voice was weak, but steady. Clear. Not the voice of someone dying. The room fell silent except for the alarms. The medic with the antidote reached the bedside at last. His hand shook so badly that he almost dropped the silver case. He had seen many deaths in this room. He had caused many of them to end by giving the antidote too late. He did not want another name added to his memory. "Do not move," the medic said quickly. "You have been poisoned. This toxin is lethal. We must act now." The human frowned slightly, as if thinking. He slowly lifted his hand. The medics shouted in panic, telling him to stop. Any movement could speed the poison, but the human did not seem to hear them. His fingers brushed against his lips. There was still a faint trace of the alien liquid on his skin, left from when he had touched the wounded area earlier. Before anyone could stop him, the human licked his fingers. Time froze. The alarms fell distant now. The medics stared in horror. The lead doctor's eyes widened so far they hurt. The medic with the antidote nearly collapsed. No one spoke. No one moved. Every mind in the room screamed the same thought. He just killed himself. "What did you do?" someone finally whispered. The human swallowed and smacked his lips slightly. He made a face, not of pain, but of mild dislike. "Huh," he said. "Tastes bitter." Several medics gasped. One dropped a data tablet. The toxin they feared most had just been swallowed again. Direct contact with the mouth should have caused instant death. Yet the human simply lay there, breathing slowly, looking more annoyed than afraid. The scanners began to change. "Doctor," a medic said softly. The lead doctor rushed forward, his eyes locked on the data. The toxin level was no longer rising. It was dropping. Slowly but clearly. The poison was breaking down inside the human's body. Not being stopped by the antidote. Being fought. "Impossible," the doctor said. "This is impossible." The human noticed the looks on their faces and raised an eyebrow. "Is that bad?" he asked. The medic with the antidote could barely speak. You consumed more of the toxin," he said. "No one survives that." The human gave a weak smile. "Yeah, well," he said. "Humans have eaten worse things by accident." Fear spread through the room like a second poison. This was no normal species. This was no fragile being in need of saving. The antidote case felt suddenly heavy in the medic's hands. Was it even needed? The alarm slowly softened as the emergency level dropped by a single point. Not enough to declare safety, but enough to change everything. The lead doctor stepped back, his voice quiet. "Do not give the antidote yet," he ordered. "We need to observe." The medic hesitated, then nodded. The human closed his eyes again, resting calmly, as if nothing unusual had happened. Around him, the alien doctors watched with a mix of fear and wonder. They had rushed in with the cure, ready to save a life. Instead, they had just learned something far more terrifying. Cliffhanger. Why is the human not dying? The medical bay did not return to normal after the alarm softened. Fear stayed behind, thick and heavy in the air. The alien doctors did not move away from the human's bed. They stood at a distance, watching every breath he took, every small movement of his chest. The scanners continued to float above him, projecting numbers that should not exist. The toxin was still there, yet the human was not dying. This alone broke every rule the aliens had ever known. The lead doctor slowly circled the bed, his eyes never leaving the human. His mind raced through thousands of medical records. Species after species had fallen to that same poison. Strong ones, ancient ones. None had lasted more than a few minutes. Yet this human had been exposed twice, and still lived. The doctor felt something unfamiliar twist inside him. It was not confusion. It was fear. "Increase observation level," he ordered quietly. "Record everything. Every change." The medics obeyed at once. New scanners activated, glowing softly as they adjusted to human biology. Some machines struggled to read him correctly, as if the human body refused to be understood. One medic wiped sweat from his face and glanced at the antidote case, resting on a nearby table. It was closed, untouched. For the first time in his career, he did not know if opening it would help or harm. The human opened his eyes again. He turned his head slightly, noticing the tension in the room. "You all look like you just saw a ghost," he said. His voice was stronger now. Not loud, but steady. Too steady for someone who should be close to death. No one answered him. The medic who had carried the antidote finally spoke. "How do you feel?" he asked. The human thought for a moment. "Tired," he said honestly. "My mouth feels weird. Like metal. But I've had worse days." That answer caused quiet whispers to spread among the medics. Worse days. The idea alone was frightening. If this was not the worst pain a human could feel, then what was? The lead doctor moved closer. "You were poisoned by a substance that kills almost instantly," he said. "Your survival is unexpected." The human gave a small smile. "Yeah, I get that a lot." The scanners beeped softly. The toxin level dropped again, just a little. Enough for the room to notice. One medic stepped back in shock. "Doctor, it's decreasing on its own." The doctor nodded slowly. "I see it." A cold realization spread through his mind. The antidote was not fighting the poison. The human was. In the corner of the room, a young alien assistant hugged his arms tightly. "What if the toxin makes him aggressive?" he whispered. "Some species react violently before death." The lead doctor considered this. He studied the human's face. There was no rage there. No madness. Just calm awareness. If anything, the human looked bored. "Restrain him," one medic suggested nervously. The doctor shook his head. "Not yet. Do not provoke him." That sentence alone carried weight. Do not provoke him. As if the human were not a patient, but a threat. The human noticed their fear and sighed softly. "Look," he said, "I don't know what you're all worried about, but I'm not going to hurt anyone." No one replied. The silence stretched. The only sounds were the soft hum of machines and the steady rhythm of the human's heart. The doctor finally spoke again. "Tell us," he said carefully, "is this normal for your kind?" The human blinked. "Surviving poison?" He shrugged weakly. "Depends on the poison. Back on my planet, almost everything wants to kill you. You learn fast." The medics exchanged looks filled with unease. A planet where danger was normal, where survival shaped a species. "Your world sounds hostile," the doctor said. The human smiled faintly. "It is. We call it home." That answer sent another wave of fear through the room. The doctor turned to his team. "Prepare a full biological analysis," he ordered. "I want to understand how his body is breaking down the toxin." "And the antidote?" a medic asked. The doctor hesitated. His eyes returned to the human. "Keep it ready," he said, "but do not use it unless his condition worsens." The human closed his eyes again, resting peacefully, while the aliens worked around him. Their hands shook as they moved. Their thoughts raced with questions they were afraid to ask. What kind of species could adapt like this? What kind of creature could turn a deadly poison into a minor problem? The medic with the antidote looked at the human and felt a chill run through his body. He had rushed into the room, thinking he was saving a fragile life. Now he was no longer sure what he was standing beside. Cliffhanger. What are humans hiding? The observation level increased again, and the medical bay felt smaller as more scanners came online. Soft lights traced the human's body, mapping bones, muscles, blood, and organs in ways never done before. The alien scientists gathered behind transparent screens, speaking in low voices. Every new reading deepened their unease. The human body was not fragile. It was dense, layered, and full of systems designed to repair damage instead of avoiding it. The lead doctor studied a rotating image of the human's blood. "His immune response is extreme," he said. "The toxin is being isolated, broken apart, and removed. Not neutralized. Destroyed." A senior biologist leaned closer to the display. "That should not be possible," she replied. "The molecule bonds to nerve tissue. Nothing removes it without the antidote." "Yet it is happening," the doctor answered. Across the room, the human rested quietly. His breathing was deeper now, stronger. Color slowly returned to his face. He opened his eyes and watched the scientists with mild curiosity, as if they were the strange ones. "You're staring," he said calmly. Several aliens flinched. The doctor stepped forward again, keeping his voice controlled. "We are studying your biology," he said. "Your survival challenges our understanding of medicine." The human nodded. "Yeah, that sounds about right." New data flashed across the screens. The toxin level dropped another clear step. The room went silent. "Doctor," a medic whispered, "at this rate, the poison will be gone within hours." The doctor felt a chill. "Without the antidote," he added. The realization settled heavily over the team. The antidote they guarded so carefully was useless here. Human biology had replaced it. The biologist began reviewing historical data. "Humans evolved on a high-risk world," she said. "Their planet has unstable weather, active geology, countless predators, and widespread microbial threats. Their bodies adapted to constant danger." "They adapted to pain," another scientist added. "To poison. To injury." The human listened and gave a small shrug. "We didn't really have a choice." The doctor turned to him. "Have you encountered poisons like this before?" The human thought for a moment. "Not exactly like this," he said, "but close enough. Plants, animals, even our own chemicals. Sometimes we mess up and ingest things we shouldn't. The ones who survive learn." That sentence struck the room like a weapon. The ones who survive learn. Survival was not an accident for humans. It was a teacher. The scanners suddenly shifted focus. One display highlighted the human's liver, working at an intense pace. Another tracked his stomach acids, strong enough to dissolve materials that would kill most species instantly. "His internal chemistry is hostile," the biologist said softly, "even to the toxin." The medic with the antidote felt his grip tighten around the case. He imagined what would happen if a human ever decided to use that hostile chemistry against others. The thought made his skin crawl. The human shifted slightly on the bed. "You all look nervous," he said. "Relax. I'm not planning anything." No one laughed. The doctor made a decision. "We will perform a controlled test," he announced. "A microdose of the toxin." Several medics gasped. "Doctor, that is dangerous," one said. The doctor did not look away from the human. "We need confirmation." The human raised an eyebrow. "You want to poison me again?" "A very small amount," the doctor said carefully. The human considered it, then nodded. "Sure, if it helps." Fear rippled through the room. No species volunteered for poison. Humans did. The test was prepared. A microscopic dose, barely enough to register. The medic's hand shook as he administered it. Everyone watched the scanners in silence. Seconds passed. Nothing happened. Then the toxin level spiked for a brief moment and began to fall again, faster than before. The room erupted in stunned whispers. Adaptation, the biologist breathed. His body recognized it instantly. The doctor felt the weight of history pressing down on him. This is not resistance, he said. This is learning. The human exhaled slowly. Told you. The fear in the room shifted. It was no longer just fear of death. It was fear of potential. A species that could learn from poison. A species that grew stronger from harm. The medic with the antidote stepped back from the table and closed the case. His hands were cold. He understood now why humans had survived so long in a dangerous galaxy. They were not immune. They adapted. The human closed his eyes again, resting as the scientist stared at him with a mix of awe and dread. Somewhere deep inside the station, a message began to form, one that would soon reach far beyond this room. Cliffhanger. Is the antidote even needed? The decision to test the antidote did not come easily. The medical bay felt tense as the lead doctor stood silent, staring at the sealed silver case. For generations, this antidote had been the final answer to the toxin. It was trusted. It was feared. Now, after everything they had witnessed, doubt crept into the room like a shadow. The human lay quietly on the bed, breathing evenly, his body still fighting the poison on its own. The doctor finally spoke. "We will test the antidote," he said, "but not on the human." Several medics turned in surprise. "Bring in a test subject," the doctor continued. "A controlled species. One with known limits." Moments later, another patient was brought into the bay. He was an alien researcher from a nearby lab, accidentally exposed earlier to a diluted form of the same toxin. His skin was pale, his breathing shallow. Fear filled his eyes as he was placed on a secondary medical bed. The medic opened the silver case at last. Inside, the antidote glowed faintly. Just looking at it made the room feel safer. The doctor watched closely as the medic prepared the injection. This was how it was supposed to work. Poison. Antidote. Survival. The injection was given. At first, nothing happened. Then the scanners reacted. The toxin slowed. The alien patient gasped as his breathing steadied. Relief spread through the room. Whispers of success followed. The antidote worked. It always did. But the victory was short. The patient suddenly cried out in pain. His body arched as the scanners spiked wildly. The toxin reacted violently with the antidote, tearing through his system. Medics rushed forward, trying to stabilize him. "This is wrong," the doctor said sharply. The dosage was correct. The alien patient screamed once more before collapsing. His breathing became uneven. His life signs weakened. The antidote had saved him. Barely. The room fell into uneasy silence as the patient was stabilized and moved away. He lived, but just barely. His body had been pushed to its limit. The doctor turned slowly toward the human. The human had watched everything. His expression was serious now. Thoughtful. "That stuff is rough," he said quietly. The doctor nodded. "Yes. For most species, it is the only option." The human hesitated, then spoke again. "What happens if you give it to me?" The question sent a shock through the room. "Absolutely not," one medic said quickly. The doctor raised a hand for silence. His mind raced. Giving the antidote to the human could answer many questions, or it could kill him. "I will not risk it," the doctor said firmly. The human studied his face. "You already risked that other guy," he replied calmly. "At least let me decide for myself." Silence returned. The doctor felt trapped between fear and curiosity. "A microdose," the biologist suggested carefully. "Less than 1%. The doctor closed his eyes briefly, then nodded. "Prepare it." The medic's hand shook worse than before as he drew the smallest possible amount of antidote. The human held out his arm without fear. "If this goes bad," the human said, "tell my team I was bored." No one smiled. The injection was administered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the scanner screamed. The human gasped sharply as pain flashed across his face for the first time. His heart rate jumped. His muscles tightened. "Stop the test," a medic shouted. But the data kept coming. The antidote did not neutralize the toxin. It confused the human system. His body reacted instantly, attacking both substances at once. Then, just as suddenly, everything changed. The human's breathing slowed. His muscles relaxed. The toxin level dropped to near zero. The antidote level dropped too. Both were gone. The room stared in disbelief. "He destroyed it," the biologist whispered. "Both of them." The doctor felt cold. The antidote, the galaxy's greatest defense, had been rendered useless inside a human body. The human exhaled slowly. "Yeah," he said weakly. "Didn't like that one." The medic stepped back, clutching the empty injector. His hands were numb. This was no patient anymore. This was something new. Something the galaxy had never prepared for. Cliffhanger. What if humans are dangerous? The room did not cheer after the test ended. No one celebrated survival. The medical bay felt colder, quieter, as if the walls themselves were listening. The scanners now showed clean lines where poison once flowed. The antidote was gone too, erased by the human body as if it had never mattered. The lead doctor stood still, staring at the empty readings, and understood that something fundamental had changed. He turned to his team and saw the same look on every face. It was not relief. It was understanding, the kind that arrives late and cannot be ignored. "Humans do not survive like we do," the doctor said slowly. "They do not avoid danger. They absorb it." The biologist nodded, her voice tight. "Their bodies are built to suffer first and adapt later. Pain is not a warning to them. It is information." Across the room, the human rested with his eyes closed. His breathing was steady again. Color had fully returned to his face. To anyone else, he looked healthy. To the aliens, he looked unpredictable. A young medic glanced at the human and swallowed. "If he can break poison and antidote," he whispered, "what else can he break?" No one answered. The lead doctor approached the bed carefully. "You are stable," he said. "You no longer require treatment." The human opened his eyes. "Good," he replied. That stuff was annoying. That casual response sent another wave of unease through the room. Annoying. The word echoed in the doctor's mind. "We need to ask you questions," the doctor said. The human nodded. "Figured as much." They moved to a quieter corner of the bay. The human sat up slowly, testing his strength. When he stood without assistance, several medics stepped back by instinct. "On your world," the doctor began, "how common are toxins?" The human thought. "Very," he said. "Plants, animals, bacteria. Even our own food can kill us if we prepare it wrong." The biologist frowned. "And yet your species thrives." The human shrugged. "We mess up. We lose people. Then we learn." That answer carried weight. Learning through loss. Through death. The aliens had spent centuries trying to remove danger from life. Humans had grown inside it. "Pain tolerance," the doctor said softly. "Your nervous system does not shut down easily." "Pain keeps us alive," the human replied. "Teaches us what not to do again." Silence followed. The medic with the antidote case finally spoke. His voice shook. "If humans can adapt this fast," he said, "then exposure to alien weapons, diseases, environments will make us better," the human finished calmly. "Eventually." Fear settled fully now. Not loud fear. Quiet fear. The kind that reshapes decisions. The doctor turned away and activated a secure channel. A message to the station command formed on the screen. His hands hesitated before sending it. "Report," the system requested. He took a breath and spoke. "Human subject neutralized lethal toxin without antidote. Adaptation confirmed. Antidote rendered ineffective. Recommend reclassification of human biology as high risk." The message sent. The human watched him. "That bad, huh?" The doctor met his eyes. "You are not what we thought you were." The human smiled faintly. "Happens a lot." An alert chimed softly. "Incoming response pending review." The doctor knew what it would say. "Caution. Distance. Observation. Maybe fear. What happens now? The human asked. Now, the doctor said honestly, we must reconsider how we treat your species. Good, the human replied. We hate being underestimated. The words were simple, but they struck deep. Across the bay, the other alien patient stirred, still weak from the antidote. He looked at the human with wide eyes, filled with something close to awe. The human noticed and gave him a small nod. Not pride, not threat, just recognition. The biologist leaned toward the doctor. If humans spread across the galaxy, she whispered, they will change everything. Medicine, war, survival itself. The doctor nodded. Yes. He looked again at the human, not as a patient, not as an ally, as a force shaped by a cruel world and sharpened by it. The human stretched his arms slightly. So, he said, am I free to go? The doctor paused. Protocol screamed no. Reason whispered caution. But the data was clear. Yes, he said at last. You are free. The human smiled and stepped down from the bed. With each step, the room seemed to adjust around him. As he walked toward the exit, the medic with the antidote felt a strange mix of relief and fear. The cure he carried meant nothing now. The galaxy had just learned a quiet truth. Humans did not need saving. They needed understanding. Cliffhanger. Should the galaxy fear humans? The warning did not stay inside the medical station for long. Data moved faster than fear ever could. Within minutes, encrypted reports traveled through deep space channels, reaching command hubs, research worlds, and the central chambers of the Galactic Council. The message was short, clear, and deeply unsettling. Humans had survived a universal toxin. Humans had adapted. Humans had erased both poison and antidote. On the station, the lead doctor watched the transmission confirmation fade from the screen. His chest felt heavy. He knew this report would change everything. Not tomorrow. Not slowly. Immediately. Around him, the medical bay remained tense. Some medics avoided looking at the human as he prepared to leave. Others could not stop watching him, as if afraid he might vanish or explode or attack. None of those things happened. The human simply adjusted his jacket and tested his balance. You sure I'm good to go? The human asked. The doctor nodded. Your vitals are stable. More than stable. The human smiled. Figures. As the human walked toward the exit, security personnel appeared at the doorway. They stood stiff, weapons lowered but ready. The human noticed and raised his hands, slightly in peace. Relax, he said. If I wanted trouble, you'd already have it. That statement was not a threat. It was a fact. The guards felt it. The door slid open, and the human stepped into the corridor. Conversation started instantly behind him. We cannot let them spread unchecked, one medic whispered. They already have, another replied. Far from the station, the Galactic Council chamber filled with representatives from dozens of species. The report replayed again and again, each viewing more disturbing than the last. Medical experts spoke first, their voices tight with concern. This is not immunity, one said. It is adaptive destruction. Human biology does not resist danger. It studies it. A military representative leaned forward. Are they weapons? No, the expert replied. They are survivors. Weapons are created. Humans are shaped. Murmurs spread through the chamber. What happens if humans are exposed to our strongest chemical defenses? Another voice asked. The answer came slowly. Eventually, they will survive them too. Silence followed. Back on the station, the lead doctor received a new message. Priority level, absolute. He opened it, his eyes scanning the words. Initiate galactic warning, he read aloud. Reclassify humans as bioadaptive class 5. All medical, military, and diplomatic contact must proceed with caution. The medic with the antidote felt weak. Class 5 was reserved for extinction-level threats. We treated him like a patient, the medic said softly. What if he had been angry? The doctor did not answer. In the corridors, the human paused as a broadcast played over the station speakers. A calm voice addressed all personnel. Attention! Due to recent findings, all interactions with human individuals are to follow updated safety protocols. Maintain respect. Avoid provocation. The human stopped walking. He listened. Then he laughed quietly. Took you long enough, he said to himself. Elsewhere, diplomats rushed to prepare statements. Military fleets adjusted patrol routes. Scientists rewrote textbooks. The galaxy reacted not with panic, but with caution born from fear. The council debated deep into the cycle. We must control exposure, one member argued. We must learn from them, another said. We must keep them close, a third warned, or they will grow without us. No agreement came easily. Back on the station, the lead doctor stood alone, replaying the moment the human had licked his fingers. Such a small act. Such massive consequences. The medic approached him. Do you regret sending the warning? He asked. The doctor shook his head. No, I regret not understanding them sooner. The human reached the docking bay. His ship waited quietly, systems warming up. He stopped once more, looking back at the station through the wide window. He had come here as an explorer. He was leaving as a warning. As his ship launched, the station sensors tracked it carefully. Not because it was dangerous now, but because it might be one day. Across the galaxy, one truth settled into the minds of countless species. Humans were not fragile. Humans were not weak. Humans were adaptive. And adaptation was the most dangerous trait of all. Cliffhanger. Will fear turn the galaxy against humans? The ship moved quietly through space, leaving the medical station behind. Inside the cockpit, the human sat alone, hands resting calmly on the controls. Stars passed slowly outside the window, cold and distant. For the first time since the toxin incident, he allowed himself to relax. His body felt normal again, strong, ready, but his mind was busy. He knew what the warning meant. The galaxy was watching now. On the station, the lead doctor remained at his console, replaying old data. Instead of studying the toxin, he searched human history files. What he found unsettled him more than any medical report. Human records were filled with disasters, plagues that wiped out millions, wars that burned cities to ash, environments that froze, starved, poisoned, and crushed their own people. Yet humans endured. They should have gone extinct, the biologist said softly as she reviewed the same files. Yes, the doctor replied, but they did not. They saw images of early humans hunting creatures larger than themselves, of explorers crossing frozen lands without protection, of children surviving diseases that would have ended entire alien species. Every record told the same story. Humans adapted not because they were safe, but because they were never safe. A council request arrived on the doctor's screen. Live communication. He accepted. We require deeper insight, the council speaker said. Explain why humans respond this way to danger. The doctor took a breath. Because danger shaped them, he said. Their planet punished weakness and rewarded learning. Pain taught them. Failure taught them. Survival became instinct. Back on the human ship, a communication alert chimed. The human accepted it, surprised to see the station doctor's face appear. We are studying your past, the doctor said. Your species has suffered greatly. The human leaned back slightly. Yeah, still do. Why continue exploring? The doctor asked. After everything you have endured. The human looked out at the stars. Because staying still never kept us safe, he said. We survive by moving forward. The answer was simple, honest, and terrifying. The doctor ended the call and turned to his team. Humans do not seek domination, he said. They seek preparation. Preparation for what? A medic asked. For whatever tries to kill them next, the doctor replied. Across the galaxy, reactions continued to spread. Some species closed borders. Others requested human advisors. Military leaders debated worst-case scenarios. Scientists requested permission to study human immune systems. Fear and curiosity moved together, impossible to separate. The human ship docked at a neutral outpost. As he stepped inside, other species watched him carefully. No one spoke. No one blocked his path. Respect and fear mixed in their eyes. A small alien child peeked from behind a wall, staring at the human with wonder. The human noticed and gave a gentle wave. The child waved back before being pulled away by a nervous parent. On the station, the biologist reviewed one final file. A summary of Earth's most dangerous life forms. Venomous creatures. Invisible microbes. Toxic plants. Extreme environments. "Doctor," she said quietly, "their planet is more lethal than most weapons." The doctor nodded. "And yet they call it home." The council session resumed. One voice spoke clearly above the rest. "If humans can adapt to anything," it said, "then they are not our enemies. They are mirrors." Silence followed. Back at the outpost, the human sat alone at a table, eating calmly. The food was safe. Boring. He smiled slightly at the thought. His communicator chimed again. A message from his own people. Short. Direct. Report received. "You okay?" He typed back. "Yeah." They finally noticed. A pause. "Good," came the reply. "About time." The human looked around the outpost. At the cautious distance others kept. At the respect mixed with fear. He did not feel proud. He felt tired. He stood and prepared to leave. On the station, the lead doctor closed the final file. He understood now. Humans were not monsters. They were survivors, shaped by constant threat. Dangerous only because the universe had forced them to be. "The truth," he said quietly, "is that humans are not the problem." The biologist looked at him. "Then what is?" The doctor stared at the stars. "A galaxy that has never learned to suffer." Cliffhanger. Can the galaxy accept the human truth? The medic could not sleep. The images returned every time he closed his eyes. The human licking his fingers. The scanners changing. The antidote failing. He sat alone in the quiet medical bay. Lights dimmed, listening to the soft hum of machines. This room had always been a place of control, order, rules. Now it felt uncertain, as if one patient had cracked its foundation. He replayed the moment again in his mind. He had rushed in with the cure, believing he was saving a fragile life. That belief had kept him calm in many emergencies. But now it felt foolish. The human had never needed saving. The medic realized the fear he felt was not of death. It was of irrelevance. The lead doctor entered quietly. "You're still here," he said. The medic nodded. "I keep thinking," he replied. "What if I had forced the antidote? What if he had reacted badly?" The doctor leaned against a console. "Then we would have learned sooner," he said. "Or we would have died trying." The medic swallowed. "I have treated hundreds of species," he said. "I know how bodies fail. But humans, I don't know where the line is." The doctor looked thoughtful. "That is because their line moves." A message alert chimed softly. The medic glanced at the screen. A request from the human ship. He hesitated before opening it. The human's face appeared, calm as always. "Hey," he said. "Doc said I could check in." The medic felt his throat tighten. "You should be resting," he said. "I am," the human replied. "I just wanted to say thanks. You didn't panic when it mattered." The medic almost laughed. "Almost. I was terrified," he admitted. The human smiled gently. "So was I." That answer surprised him. "You didn't look afraid," the medic said. "Fear doesn't always look the same," the human replied. "Sometimes it just tells you to keep moving." The call ended. The medic sat quietly, letting the words settle. Later, during shift change, a junior medic approached him. "Is it true," she asked, "that humans can survive almost anything?" The medic considered his answer. "No," he said honestly. "They can't survive everything." She looked relieved. "But they survive enough," he continued. "And they remember how." The station received new directives. Human interactions were to be observed, not restricted. Respect was mandatory. Provocation was forbidden. The medic read the rules twice. They felt less like medical policy and more like survival instructions. He walked through the station corridors later that cycle. Everywhere he went, conversations softened when he passed. Fear had changed shape. It was quieter now, more thoughtful. In the docking bay, he saw the human ship still present. Curiosity pulled him forward. Against his own hesitation, he approached the ramp. The human noticed him immediately. "You okay?" he asked. The medic nodded. "I wanted to understand," he said. why you weren't angry after how we treated you." The human leaned against the ship. "Because you were scared," he replied. "And scared people try to help the best way they know how." The medic felt something loosen inside his chest. "Aren't you afraid of us now?" he asked quietly. The human thought for a moment. "A little," he said. "But fear doesn't have to mean hate." The medic looked down at his hands. The hands that had carried the antidote. The hands that had failed. "I thought medicine was about control," he said. "About fixing things." "For us," the human replied, "medicine was about buying time. Long enough to learn." They stood in silence for a while, watching ships come and go. "Will the galaxy try to stop you?" the medic asked. The human shrugged. "Maybe. But that won't end well for anyone." The medic nodded slowly. He believed him. When the human returned to his ship, the medic stayed behind. He realized his fear had changed again. It was no longer fear of humans. It was fear of misunderstanding them. Back in the medical bay, the medic placed the silver antidote case into storage. Locked. Labeled. Obsolete. He updated his personal log. "Humans are not threats," he recorded. "They're responses." He ended the entry and looked up at the quiet room. For the first time since the emergency, he felt calm. But far beyond the station, decisions were being made. And fear, once awakened, never truly sleeps. Cliffhanger. Will fear destroy the chance for trust? The Galactic Council convened once again. News of the human survival and adaptability had rippled through every sector. The representatives gathered in the Grand Chamber, their expressions tense. Species that had never communicated directly now debated policy, strategy, and ethics. The humans were still far away, unknown, and yet the galaxy had already changed because of them. The council speaker called the session to order. "The human event requires immediate action," he said. "Recommendations are needed for security, science, and diplomacy." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives called for isolation. Others argued for observation. A few urged full study under strict supervision. Fear and respect intertwined in every statement. On distant worlds, fleets adjusted patrols. Research stations activated emergency protocols. The biological classifications of humans were updated. High-priority alerts streamed across every communication network. Everyone now understood that humans were not ordinary. They were adaptive, unpredictable, and in some cases, dangerous. Back on the medical station, the lead doctor received the council's directive. Humans were to be monitored, classified, and treated with caution. The medic with the antidote case felt the weight of it. What had started as an emergency now dictated galaxy-wide rules. Aliens discussed training programs, diplomatic procedures, and medical protocols. Human biology was now a standard course in every academy. The phrase, "never underestimate a human," was repeated endlessly. The outpost where the human had docked now had new sensors, new reports, and new security measures. Every interaction with humans required documentation, permission, and careful monitoring. Fear was no longer silent. It had become systematic. The human traveled from system to system, unaware of the full consequences. He noticed subtle changes. The way starships adjusted their course, the curious looks from alien crews, the careful protocols at docking bays. Some smiled respectfully, others whispered nervously. The human chuckled quietly. The galaxy was learning, slowly, cautiously. On the medical station, the lead doctor reviewed historical data. Humans had always been survivors, yes, but now their survival had created a ripple effect. Entire species were reassessing their strategies. Military tactics, environmental precautions, and medical research were being rewritten. The galaxy itself was changing in response to one species' ability to adapt. The medic walked through corridors, noting the changes firsthand. Security was heightened, but respect had grown. Alien personnel greeted humans with careful politeness. Conversations included cautionary advice: how to approach humans, how to communicate safely, how to study them without provoking them. Fear had formalized itself into protocol. The council continued to debate. One member suggested a controlled alliance with humans to understand them better. Another argued for strict quarantine and study. fearing any exposure could lead to unknown disasters. The discussion continued for cycles, each argument reinforcing the reality. Humans had altered galactic thinking. Meanwhile, the human's ship carried him to new systems. He learned stories of planets that tried to underestimate humans, worlds where early encounters had ended in surprise and caution. He noted them, curious, and moved on. Observation, learning, preparation. The same instincts that had allowed his species to survive countless threats now guided him across the stars. The medic updated his log daily. "Humans are catalysts," he wrote. "Not conquerors, not predators, but everything they touch changes. The galaxy is no longer the same." The lead doctor agreed silently. Humanity's presence demanded attention, respect, and in many ways fear. They were not enemies, but they were forces the galaxy could not ignore. Even as the Council prepared new policies, the galaxy itself felt the shift. Trade routes adjusted. Science missions expanded. Military planning incorporated human biology as a factor. Fear, once private, had become collective. Awareness had evolved into policy. The human looked at stars through the cockpit window, smiling faintly. Every system he passed now reacted differently. The galaxy had learned, slowly, cautiously, and that knowledge gave humans a new kind of power. Influence without aggression, adaptation without conflict. And while the humans themselves continued their journey, the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. Cliffhanger, a new era begins. The stars stretched endlessly before the human ship, vast and quiet. Systems passed beneath him, each one quietly aware of the truth that had been revealed. Humans were no longer just travelers, explorers, or survivors. They were markers, changing the galaxy simply by existing. Every encounter, every small act of resilience left a mark that could not be erased. Back on the station, the lead doctor and his team watched reports from across the galaxy. Humans had been reclassified. Protocols were updated. Education programs included human biology, history, and adaptive strategies. Military, scientific, and diplomatic missions all consider humans a unique factor. Fear had become respect, and respect had become cautious admiration. The medic who had rushed in with the antidote wrote in his final log, "Humans are neither conquerors nor victims. They are responses to the universe. They survive. They adapt. They teach without words. We have witnessed a species that can turn poison into understanding, danger into preparation." Elsewhere, ambassadors from distant worlds debated quietly. "Humans are unpredictable," one said, "but their influence spreads through observation, not force. We cannot ignore them." Another added, "Perhaps fear is the beginning of understanding. Perhaps respect will follow." The human ship passed through a system rich with planets and life. He observed quietly, noting patterns, behaviors, and potential dangers. He did not act aggressively. He did not take more than necessary. His mere presence caused civilizations to adjust, protocols to change, and eyes to watch. Influence without aggression. Adaptation without domination. The way his species had always survived. In the medical station's corridors, the doctor reflected. "Humans are a mirror," he whispered. "Not to show weakness, but to show how fragile our assumptions can be. How easily we misjudge resilience." The medic nodded. And now the galaxy must learn humility. Across councils and outposts, the human legacy was quietly cemented. Policies adapted, fleets repositioned, education updated, and communication channels expanded. The galaxy had learned to consider humans in every plan, every strategy, every encounter. The human paused near a window on his ship, watching the distant glow of countless stars. For a moment, he allowed himself a small smile. His journey was not about domination, nor about conquest. It was about existence, survival, learning, adaptation. Every life he saved, every danger he survived, every observation he made strengthened the truth that humans carried naturally. In a council chamber far away, a representative spoke softly, almost to himself. Perhaps the galaxy feared the wrong things. Perhaps humans are not the threat. We are the unprepared. The message spread through whispers, reports, and debates. Humility began to edge out fear. Awareness replaced panic. Observation replaced prejudice. Back on the human ship, he continued his journey through uncharted regions, leaving only lessons behind. Not destruction, not fear through force. Simply truth. Adaptation. The quiet yet undeniable strength that had defined his species from the beginning. The lead doctor wrote a final note in his research log. "We have seen one human. That is enough to change the galaxy. Imagine the species." The medic closed the storage for the antidote one last time. Its purpose had ended. Humans did not need it. Their biology, their experience, and their instinct for survival were more than enough. The human ship disappeared into the endless expanse of space, leaving behind a galaxy forever altered. Every system, every species, every mind had taken notice. Humans were no longer simply beings among many. They were a legacy, a force not through violence, but through enduring strength and adaptability. In quiet corners, whispers spread. The human legacy has begun. Prepare, observe, learn. And as the stars continued to stretch endlessly, one undeniable truth remained. Humans survived. Humans adapted. Humans taught the galaxy, without ever intending to. The era of humanity had begun,